Good morning, gang. Happy Monday morning. If you took the weekend off and didn't pay a whole lot of attention to what's going on, like most people, you missed some stuff that'll probably get your blood boiling so hot this morning, it will fry an egg. Poach an egg, I guess, basically. I can't tell you how freaking insane this Ukraine crap went over the weekend. I want you to think about this. Are you willing not to send your money to support this little Napoleonic dictator, but to send your kids? Okay? Europe had an emergency meeting yesterday where all the leaders of the EU got together, all leaders of NATO, whatever, not Trump, and they came up with a peace plan. And the idiocy of all of this is staggering. Afterwards, after it was all done, Keir Starmer, who, is now deciding that he is the leader of the free world, communist little prick he is, comes up with this 4-point peace plan. This is just the first point of what happened. And he says about sovereignty for Ukraine and how we're going to keep financially supporting them and boots on the ground. And basically America's going to pay for the whole thing. Watch this.
We will go further to develop a coalition of the willing to defend a deal in Ukraine and to guarantee the peace. Not every nation will feel able to contribute, but that can't mean that we sit back. Instead, those willing will intensify planning now with real urgency. The UK is prepared to back this with boots on the ground and planes in the air, together with others. Europe must do the heavy lifting. But to support peace in our continent and to succeed, this effort must have strong US backing. We're working with the US on this point after my meeting with President Trump last week.
I hate to tell you this, Mr. Prime Minister, but 250 years ago, we told you to kick rocks, that we didn't give a damn what Great Britain said. Apparently you didn't get the memo because that hasn't changed, okay? You can come up with all the peace plans you want. Don't include us. It's amazing how Europe comes up with the peace plan and wants to get approval from the United States. We're not in a war. Why don't you go get approval from Putin and Zelenskyy? They're the ones in the war. If you got this great peace plan, take the initiative and present it to the two warring countries. Not us. We're not at war. We don't plan on being it. But see, here's the deal. War is our business and business is good. This is what Europe figures. Hey, we'll get the United States to dump a shitload more money into Europe so we can keep sucking on the teat of the American public. That's over. We're done. We don't want to pay you anymore. I don't give a rat's ass about all the Slava Ukrainia comments made at the Oscars yesterday. Fine, Hollywood, you want to support them? Zelenskyy said over the weekend that Americans are eligible to join the National Guard. Sign up. Send your kids. You believe in Ukraine so much, you go fight. Chris Murphy, right? Senator yesterday, he's refusing to attend Trump's address to Congress. It would be the State of the Union, but it's not for the first month you're in the president. He's refusing to go because, get this, he's going to stand side by side with his constituents, his words, not mine, from Ukraine. Really? I didn't know Ukraine got a Senate seat. Apparently, Chris Murphy thinks they do. Okay. I'm going to give you this. Ukraine, the EU collectively is $15 trillion in debt. A little less than half of what we are in debt. Why? Well, because the United States makes sure to pay their bills for them. That's ending. We ain't doing that anymore. Okay. But Keir Starmer said that he was going to continue to send boots on the ground, planes in the air to support Ukraine, right? Zelenskyy agreed with them. Watch this.
The U.S. will have to send their sons and daughters exactly the same way as we are sending their sons and daughters to war. And they will have to fight because it's NATO that we're talking about, and they will be dying.
Really? We will have to send our sons and daughters to fight. And they will have to fight. And they will die. No, they won't. I'm ex-military. You guys know that. I don't give a shit. If somehow stupidly we decide that we need to send troops to Ukraine, I hope to God every single one of them says, hell no, I won't go. Period. Okay? This ain't our fight. This ain't our battle. Europe needs this fight. Because again, war is our business and business is good. They are so far in debt that they need war to save their collapsing economies. I'm going to give you a couple of facts here. The combined military strength of every EU country is 1.3 million active duty soldiers. Russia has 1.5 million. You think Russia won't win a war? Let me remind you of this. During World War II, Russia lost 26 million people. And yet they were still the first ones in Berlin to take down Hitler. They ain't going to quit. They'll keep coming and coming and coming until the last man standing. The EU needs this war. They need the US. They can't do it without us. They don't have the freaking money. They don't have the equipment. They don't have the personnel. Great Britain, another good fact for you, has 40, that's it, 40 working tanks. My regiment at Fort Bliss had more than 40 working tanks. One tiny little regiment. Okay, that was it. Europe could pay for this if they wanted to. But see, it wouldn't fit their globalist socialist ideals. In order for Europe to pay for the war they want in Ukraine, because we're not going to, they've got to come up with the money somewhere. So the most obvious thing they would have to do, because they'd have to put about 15% of their GDP to pay for it, would be to cancel their socialized medicine. You know, everybody gets free health care. Great, because the government subsidizes it. The government pays for it all, which basically means you and I are paying for it. But can you imagine telling the European people, hey guys, this is what we're going to do. We're going to cancel your health care, and then we're going to conscript all your sons and daughters and grandsons and granddaughters to go to the meat grinder that is Eastern Ukraine. And just think, all the Europeans are going to go, woohoo, can't wait. Europe is hell-bent on getting us into World War III. I mean, they want war. they need it to save their struggling economies. Because then they can figure out how to filter all the money from the United States, from their own taxpayers, into the few their pockets, right? Again, you ever seen a politician send his kid into battle? Nah, they don't do that. They send your kids into battle. They send your kids to die. Hell, Zelensky's demanding the U.S. send our kids to die. That ain't happening. Okay. A lot of talk has been made about Article 5. There's an issue with Article 5 that these mental midgets don't understand. If Great Britain or Germany or France send troops to Ukraine to go fight, and the Russians shoot a British soldier, a French soldier, a German soldier, that does not trigger Article 5. Article 5 gets triggered if Germany or France or England or anybody else, the landmass that they are, gets attacked by a foreign adversary. You send your troops somewhere, you're on your freaking own. That's how that one works. There's a lot of talk about the U.S. getting out of NATO, getting out of the UN, which I agree with both, okay, especially NATO. There's a problem with this, though. It's not like we go, guys, we quit, we're out, no 2 weeks notice, no nothing. Unfortunately, back in the NDAA from 2020, Congress put in the now law that we have to give NATO a 1-year notice if we're going to leave. So even if Trump said today we're out of NATO, technically we can't get out for a year, which means Europe, who's hell-bent on starting this war, can start it within a year, and if there's some sort of retaliation against the land masses of Western Europe, yes, we would be obligated to participate. However, anybody that thinks a little deeper about this knows what happens when we go to war. Most of the European militaries are utterly and completely incompetent. Okay? I mean, Germany doesn't have bullets. Great Britain doesn't have tanks. So who would wind up in the leadership positions? Well, it would have to be the United States. Until the U.S. comes up and says, nah, you know what? Here's a tank. We're participating. We're not going to participate in any of the leadership. We're not doing anything. Oh yeah, we'll help. We'll send you a couple of cooks, and they can make chow in the rear echelon. We're participating. Europe wants this war bad. They are doing anything they can to do it. If you don't think this isn't a World Economic Forum globalist cabal plan, you're fooling yourself. Zelensky's a globalist. Zelensky's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. He has to keep this war going. He does not want peace. Trump's right at all. He doesn't want, because if Zelensky gets peace, then he's got to have an election. And if he has an election, he'll lose. But as the war keeps going on, the Ukrainian people, at least the ones on the Eastern Front who aren't still going to nightclubs and stuff like that, the ones in Western Ukraine, living a normal life, they're dying in droves. And eventually there's going to be somebody who's going to be pissed off enough to remove Zelenskyy from power on his own. Read between the lines. He's going to be persona non grata around the world when this war ends, because the people of Ukraine will see him as a failure, that he lost. He won't win re-election, and he'll be lucky if he doesn't have some place to live in Argentina somewhere in the future. But for Europe, Keir Starmer, to say the U.S. is paying for this, you're smoking more crack than Hunter Biden. But for Zelenskyy to demand we will have to send our sons and daughters, all that $100 million that's miraculously disappeared, we know where it went. It's cocaine that went up his nose. He is insane if he thinks the American people or the European people are going to say, sure, let me send my kids. Because here's the deal. Remember World War II, the Pacific Theater? And the United States said, we got to end this war. Hiroshima, boom, you're gone. Japan, do you surrender? No. 3 days later, Nagasaki is gone. If Europe starts World War III, Putin came out yesterday and used the first intercontinental ballistic missiles, hypersonic missiles, on Ukraine. Those things can't be shot down. There's no technology to do it with. Putin will go, pick a city. London, poof, you're gone. Europe, do you surrender? No. 3 days later, boom, Paris, you're gone. Europe, do you surrender? And he just keeps going, one by one by one by one. Okay. And whether or not the EU retaliates on Russia, that's on them. It shouldn't be on us. I don't want to see nuclear fallout in the United States. I don't want to see hypersonic missiles come to the United States. But I'll tell you what, if it does, I'm ready, or as ready as I can be. If I get a direct strike and I'm vaporized, all right, so be it. Okay. If it happens a couple of 100 miles away from me, fine. I bunker down in the house. It's what I prepped for. We're probably closer to World War III today than we were in 1962 during the Cuban Missile Crisis. I just want you to think about that. And we're trying to stay out of it, and everybody else is trying to force our hand into it. But I ask you this, if that draft notice shows up in your mailbox for your son or your daughter and says, you've been drafted, you're going to Ukraine, what are you doing? Can't run to Canada. Wouldn't run to Mexico. I'd say, no, you want me? Come take me. But again, all those people that are going to come apprehend me and pull the same crap like they're doing in Ukraine, kidnapping kids off the street, tell your Gestapo, it ain't going to be our government. It'll be the UN somehow, that they ain't going to make dinner tonight. We need to tell NATO, tell the EU, tell the UN, we're out. You're on your own. No more money, no more troops, no more weaponry, no more equipment, no more supplies, no more nothing. You've had 80 years since the end of World War II, Europe, to bolster your own defenses. And we've given you a ton of money to do it. The fact that you pissed it away with green energy, socialized medicine, or paying for immigrants, that ain't our problem. I implore this administration to turn off the spigot, to bring our troops home from every military base we have in Europe. If they want the tanks and stuff like that there, great. Germany, write us a check. Otherwise, we can just put them on a ship and send them home. It's time the United States puts the United States first, tells the rest of the world to go themselves. And if Europe gets steamrolled and the entire European continent has to learn how to speak Russian, oh well. That's your fault, not ours. Pinball out.